Russia escalating attacks against Ukraine following President Trump's surprise meeting with President Zelensky.
There was no reason for Putin to be shooting missiles into civilian areas, cities, and towns, which is what they have been doing throughout the war.
Ukraine accusing Russia of launching nearly 150 drones across the entire country. Regions including Odessa and others all reporting damage from these strikes.
That Putin is going to push this war as hard as he can unless you stop him. And it has really hurt the process to get to peace.
After a private meeting between President Trump and President Zelensky at the Vatican, Russian President Vladimir Putin is now announcing a short-term ceasefire for the beginning of May.
President Trump is increasingly irritated with President Putin, who keeps attacking Ukrainian cities and who keeps being the obstacle, who continues to obstruct any movement toward a real ceasefire.
That President Trump has put all the pressure on Zelensky. He sent a very clear message to President Putin from the start of Trump's administration that if Putin just holds out, eventually President Trump will abandon Ukraine. And that incentivized Putin to keep going forward. And
on the helmet
reads, "We have freedom, give us wings to protect it."
When a Su-27 was shot down over Crimea in March 2024, Russian media celebrated. Now, the tables have turned with F-16s entering Ukrainian airspace. The real question is whether these aircraft will create battlefield vulnerabilities by forcing Russian resource reallocation. Like a digital upgrade in high-stakes chess, the strategic calculus extends beyond dogfights. Ukraine's pilots spent 6 to 9 months training on these aircraft, mastering Western air combat doctrines. With AGM-158 JSM cruise missiles and GBU-31J DAM guided bombs, F-16s can deliver surgical strikes against previously protected Russian infrastructure. But will Russia's extensive S-300 and S-400 air defense networks neutralize this advantage?
F-16s versus Russia's aging fleet. Technical superiority in modern air combat.
The fundamental question surrounding Ukraine's F-16 acquisition isn't simply whether these advanced fighters can outperform Russian aircraft. It's the magnitude of their technical superiority. When examining the Block 70/72 variants Ukraine is receiving, we observe a generational technological leap that fundamentally reshapes aerial combat dynamics against Russia's aging fleet. The cockpit's multifunctional displays and digital map systems accelerate tactical decision-making, transforming how pilots process information during high-stress combat. Ukrainian pilots can manage threats and opportunities simultaneously rather than sequentially, a decisive advantage when facing multiple adversaries in compressed timeframes. At the heart of this technical disparity lies the advanced APG-83 AESA radar system, representing a dramatic advancement beyond the dated mechanically scanned arrays in Russia's Su-27 and Su-30 fighters. While Russian aircraft physically sweep radar beams across the sky in predictable patterns, the F-16's electronically steered array performs multiple functions simultaneously. This radar superiority essentially gives Ukrainian pilots the ability to see through the fog of war, detecting Russian aircraft from substantially greater distances while maintaining a reduced electromagnetic signature themselves. In aerial combat, where first detection typically determines survival, F-16s establish persistent first strike opportunities while denying the same advantage to their adversaries. The contrast between Western and post-Soviet combat philosophies becomes evident in battlefield information management. Russian fighters operate with limited data integration, relying heavily on ground controllers for targeting information, continuing Soviet-era centralized command structures that prioritize controller authority over pilot initiative. F-16s disrupt this model through Link 16 data exchange networks, creating a comprehensive battlefield awareness grid. Ukrainian pilots can instantaneously share target data, threat warnings, and tactical information across platforms without verbal communication. This network extends beyond air assets to coordinate with ground forces and command centers, facilitating unprecedented joint capabilities with NATO systems. This technological gap forces Russian pilots to operate with severe informational disadvantages, particularly during beyond visual range engagements, where electronic systems increasingly determine survival outcomes. Russian aircraft enter contested airspace with fundamentally degraded situational awareness compared to their Ukrainian counterparts. The F-16's electronic warfare capabilities compound these advantages. Advanced radar warning receivers alert pilots to threats, while countermeasure systems can disrupt missile lock-ons. These systems dramatically increase survivability against Russian air defense networks. The shoot-and-scoot tactics maximizes these technical advantages while minimizing exposure to counterattack. When combined with comprehensive data sharing via data links, these tactics significantly enhance Ukrainian pilots' ability to outmaneuver Russian fighters even when outnumbered. Beyond air combat, F-16s provide precision strike capabilities with diverse weapon systems and advanced targeting pods, enabling Ukrainian forces to conduct precise strikes against Russian logistics centers, command posts, and armored formations, a capability Russia's Air Force has failed to demonstrate throughout the conflict.
The networked battlefield. How F-16 data link technology transforms air combat.
While the technical specifications of Ukraine's F-16s represent a significant upgrade, the invisible revolution occurring beneath the surface is fundamentally altering the battlefield equation. As Russian pilots continue relying on ground controllers for basic tactical decisions, a Soviet-era approach that creates critical delays, Ukrainian F-16s are silently communicating with each other and ground assets at digital speeds, creating a networked battlefield that renders traditional Russian doctrine increasingly obsolete. The contrast in operational philosophies is stark. Russia's centralized command structures force their pilots to operate as mere extensions of ground control centers. This vulnerability means Russian aircraft cannot engage emerging threats without authorization from distant command posts. During a recent engagement near Kharkiv, Russian pilots reportedly identified Ukrainian supply convoys, but waited over 7 critical minutes for strike authorization, by which time the targets had dispersed. In contrast to these outdated methods, Ukraine's F-16s implement Link 16 and tactical data exchange networks that transform battlefield awareness. Ukrainian pilots share vital information, target data, threat warnings, tactical plans, without verbal communication, creating an operational advantage in contested airspace where radio transmissions risk detection. The high-stress environment of silent attacks demonstrates this advantage most clearly. During these coordinated strikes, Ukrainian pilots maintain complete radio silence while executing complex multi-directional approaches. A Ukrainian pilot described the experience. Your heart races as you watch encrypted coordinates update on your display, knowing your wingmen are seeing the same information and adjusting in real time, all without a word being spoken. This networked approach seamlessly integrates with ground-based systems. When a radar detects an approaching threat, information instantly populates across the entire network. F-16s can respond before being directly tasked by operators, creating a defense network that complicates Russian strike planning. During a simulated defense scenario, networked F-16s intercepted 87% of incoming threats, compared to 52% using conventional coordination methods. Russia's electronic warfare systems struggle against these distributed networks. Traditional jamming tactics effective against centralized communications fail when data dynamically reroutes through multiple pathways. When one channel is compromised, the network shifts to alternatives, maintaining integrity even under concentrated electronic attack. F-16s also serve as airborne data nodes, providing persistent situational awareness when ground-based systems are compromised. This capability directly counters Russia's strategy of targeting fixed command infrastructure. For Russian forces accustomed to fighting against isolated systems, this networked approach fundamentally challenges their operational doctrine. Each F-16 functions as a node in an interconnected combat system that multiplies effectiveness through information sharing and coordinated action, transforming Ukraine's entire approach to integrated warfare across multiple domains.
Russia's advanced aircraft and air defenses, analyzing the countermeasures.
The networked battlefield created by Ukraine's F-16s has forced Russia into a defensive posture that contradicts their public bravado. While Kremlin-aligned media trumpets the deployment of advanced MiG-35s and Su-27s to counter the F-16 threat, battlefield evidence tells a different story. Russia's most sophisticated aircraft operate primarily from safe distances, revealing a fundamental gap between Moscow's technological claims and its operational reality. This discrepancy becomes particularly apparent when examining Russia's fifth-generation Su-57 fighter. With fewer than 20 operational Su-57s in Russia's entire inventory, despite being in development since 2002, the reality falls far short of propaganda claims. Military intelligence sources close to Kiev report no confirmed sightings of these aircraft directly engaging in Ukrainian airspace. According to a January 2023 update from the UK Ministry of Defence, these prized assets fly exclusively over Russian territory, launching long-range missiles while maintaining a safe distance from potential threats. This cautious deployment strategy reveals Russia's actual confidence in their premier fighter platform. Moscow preserves their limited fleet, while propaganda outlets claim their participation in the conflict. Russia's Su-35s fighters, marketed as the most powerful fourth double-plus generation aircraft system with elements of the fifth generation, have demonstrated surprising vulnerability. Documented losses exceed 11 aircraft since hostilities began, highlighting the gap between marketing specifications and combat effectiveness. The December 2023 announcement that Russia deployed the MiG-35 in Ukraine follows this pattern. According to TASS, United Aircraft Corporation delivered just 6 MiG-35 aircraft to Russian forces, with early deliveries earmarked for aerobatic displays rather than combat operations. With premier aircraft largely sidelined, Russia relies on its integrated air defense system, particularly the S-400 complexes. These systems, like fortresses with increasingly vulnerable walls, theoretically threaten aircraft beyond 250 kilometers. However, their performance consistently falls short when facing Ukrainian tactics. Ukrainian forces have developed sophisticated methods to bypass these defenses, employing low-altitude penetration corridors and electronic countermeasures that exploit vulnerabilities. The addition of F-16s compounds Russia's defensive challenges, as these aircraft excel at electronic warfare and defense suppression missions. The F-16's ability to disrupt communication signals between Russian air defense components, employ precision strikes against radar installations, and coordinate across a networked battle space erodes the theoretical advantages of systems like the S-400. Most telling is the composition of Russia's operational fleet in Ukraine. Headlines boast of advanced platforms, but reality reveals mostly aging Su-27 and Su-30 variants, lacking sophisticated electronic warfare suites and data-sharing capabilities. Against these aircraft, Ukraine's F-16s armed with AMRAAM and SIDEWINDER missiles present a formidable threat, particularly when leveraging their networked operational approach. The integration of F-16s into Ukraine's military arsenal represents a strategic transformation toward Western military standards, potentially easing Ukraine's path to NATO integration in the future. This modernization fundamentally alters regional power dynamics, as noted by NATO Secretary General Stoltenberg, who called it a significant step toward interoperability. These aircraft strengthen Ukraine's negotiating position in future peace talks by enhancing defensive capabilities. F-16s force Moscow to recalibrate its strategic objectives while empowering Ukrainian pilots and ground crews with renewed confidence. The true impact of these fighters will reshape the fundamental calculus of this conflict and potentially redefine Eastern European security architecture for decades to come.